did they have any other incarnations in between that one that we spoke of and Kenneth's life right now?
You have multiple incarnations happening simultaneously.
Okay, I see what you mean. When you speak of multiple simultaneous incarnations, do you look at linear timeline like we do, or that linear simultaneous could be in any time, that could be before or after now?
Before and after are the eye stuck in the idea of physicality. The actual idea to understand is that everything is happening simultaneously. And when we say simultaneously, we mean literally simultaneously. What you understand as time, space, movement is you shifting through billions of parallel realities all the time.
I see. Could you help me understand, please, the concept of free will versus everything is happening right now? If everything is happening right now, do I still have free will? Because, yeah?
The idea of destiny or free will boils down to this simple understanding. In any particular lifetime, you chose a hallway to walk down. How you walk down that particular hallway is up to you. You're going to walk down that hallway no matter what. But the idea is you can walk it upside down, you can walk on your hands, you can walk on your head, you can crab walk, you can walk up and down the walls. It doesn't matter. How you choose to experience that reality is where free will comes into play. So it is a mix of both aspects. It is not necessarily just you have free will in this way.
That's very helpful. Thank you. When you speak of walking down the hallway, destiny, I guess, does it have to be with one profession or one's lessons in life? Like, is it more physical, or is it more what I'm here to learn and to amass into my overall being?
You pick which lessons, which themes. Think of it more in the terms of themes. If you pick a particular set of themes that you knew would help you expand as a soul, where you've spent many lifetimes being the villain, you will pick a lifetime to play out as the victim.
Thank you. Could you give us an example? Tell me the themes that I have chosen for this current lifetime for myself.
The idea of connection. You are playing the communicator. You're playing the connection for those that need you to be the intermediary.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. When I see
the answer to most problems in most people's lives are very simple. They do not require the idea of being overly complicated. Usually, most humans will make the situations more complicated than they need to.
Okay, fair enough. Amanda has another question here. What about people I meet from other countries on Earth? Do you think it's possible that we'd be a part of the same soul group? Or usually are they born close together?
They can be anywhere. I am not from Earth, but I still have connection to the channel.
Fair enough. I have one more question around this topic, and then we'll shift a bit. I'm very curious about the concept of incarnation and higher soul, oversoul, higher mind. How many, I don't know if this is the right way to ask it, because I'm thinking so linearly here, but how many lifetimes have I had?
It changes from moment to moment. You are constantly shifting to different versions of you that have different connections in different lifetimes. In one moment, you could have 112 connections. In another moment, you can have 50. It just changes from moment to moment. It's not necessarily a static number throughout your entire life.
Okay. I was speaking with another intuitive person the other day, And she mentioned to me that my daughter is quote unquote a young soul. It's her second incarnation. How do I to understand this?
Many of the children that have been born on your planet in the last 10 to 15 years have not had very many lifetimes on your planet because you are shifting up. So the souls that are coming on to your planet is there to have the idea of moving past the idea of previous karma, previous ideas that have been encapsulated into your society.
So by being new, they have a new look on life, so to speak.
They're not bound by the idea of karma. The balance that you as souls have had for many, many, many lifetimes, because they are no longer maintained and connected to those ideas, they can move past them.
That makes a lot of sense. And one chooses the theme for their incarnation?
Yes.
It's not chosen for them?
Well, yes and no. You can have the idea of the councils, the people that help you plan out your particular lifetime, if they have seen that you have been experiencing life in a very particular way. To give you contrast, they will say, hey, you need to experience this in order to understand that. But it is really this and that. It is not this or that. It is a combination. And then eventually you will see those things as this is that. It is not separate. It is all one thing from different points of view.
Very good. Thank you. That's a really nice way to put it. Amanda is asking, can I also know my theme in the hallway of chosen if you know?
One of your themes is to help heal the planet, to help heal yourself and help heal the people around you.
Thank you. I have a question for my neighbor. He's not present. Amanda's saying thank you. He's not present, but he did type the question for me. Let me read that. My neighbor's name is Tass, and he's asking. Tass is asking about Antarctica. It's against the law to fly over or sail into privately. No one is allowed to explore it. And the guy who did said they were all new lands. What can you tell Tass about Antarctica?
The idea of Antarctica is that there are things there because the landscape has been frozen for so long that has been maintained by the ice itself that you as humans are not quite ready to interact with. There are also many doorways around your planet that will lead you to other realities.
And one of those doorways or some will be in Antarctica?
Yes.
Is Antarctica all covered with ice, or are there areas which are lush?
No, those places that they refer to as being lush, those people shifted through a doorway into another dimension where that is so. But on your planet right now, it is ice.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a little bit about the moon.
Yes.
How come the moon is the only celestial body that we know that does not spin on its own axis? It always shows one side to us.
It does rotate. It takes a month.
It rotates around the Earth, yes, but the moon itself does not rotate around itself, correct?
It is a natural body that has been modified. It is tightly locked in that way. The technology, it is not hollow, as some might believe it to be.
Are there any structures and or beings, including humans, on the moon right now?
Mostly outposts. There is not the idea of permanent structures where people permanently live. It is more the idea of observation posts and places where things happen that would not necessarily be looked upon so nicely here on Earth.
Thank you. Amanda is asking, I think you already answered it. The moon is being locked in position. How and why?
That is beyond the level we can explain at this moment. It is there to help balance out your planet, to help keep the idea of a stable environment that you would not have if that particular celestial body was not in orbit around you. It has been modified by different species from your past to do what it is doing now.
Thank you. Is it true that the moon's gravity causes the water of the oceans to shift, the rising tide, and so on?
Yes. That is what is meant by the idea of tidally locked.
I see. Thank you. Were there ever life on moon, like an active life or atmosphere?
No.
No. How about Mars?
Yes. In your past, a few million years ago, the idea of Malbec, prior to it destroying itself, Mars had a thriving civilization, had people on it. Ironically, the idea of an asteroid that came from the destruction of Malbec crashed into Mars and scraped off the magnetic sphere and made Mars uninhabitable for the beings that live there.
And those beings that lived there couldn't stop it?
No.
Okay.
Many of the souls that lived on Mars, as you call it, have migrated to Earth.
When you say migrated, you mean physically or by way of incarnation?
Incarnation.
I see. How many of these Martian souls are on Earth now, give or take?
Many of the humans that live now were there. The beings that you intuitively refer to as little green men from Mars, the reason for that is they were reptilian in nature and green, and they were short.
Thank you. Amanda is saying there's a lot of fear mongering in terms of climate change and what is to come here on Earth. Are we safe here? If not, how long until we're not safe?
Your climate will shift over the next years to come. This is all part of your process. It is a natural cycle that has happened on your planet, but it has been sped up by your technology that has polluted. The idea of destruction that has occurred in your past is playing out with your people.
Thank you. When you say technology, do you refer to what we call HARP?
No, more the idea of fossil fuels that have been polluting your atmosphere.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of the climate change, what direction is our climate change transforming or shifting to?
You are going to see your sea levels rise. You will not be completely destroyed, as many of the fear-mongering media sources have said.
Uh-huh.
But the idea is that you, as souls, wanted to go through an idea of transformation. So this is a reflection of that state. By the time you fully interact with us as beings, your whole world will have transformed.
You mean by way of rising water?
Rising water, heat, cold, all sorts of different things.
What are we talking here in terms of water rising? How many meters or feet and over how long?
Closer to the idea of 100 feet. Many of your coastal cities will be flooded, but the idea of actual flood and flood waters will come from more of the idea of hurricanes, large storms that you are starting to see now that are starting to flood areas on a regular basis. Many of the cities that are inland now will eventually become coastal cities.
100 feet over how long? I mean, we haven't seen any water level rising so far.
You have, it's just more gradual for the time being.
Should we get ready now? And if we live by the coast, should we move inland, a higher place right now? Or we have 20 or 50 years?
You have close to 100 years. The idea is you're already starting to see people having to move more inland because the coasts are eroding, so they can no longer live in those places that they used to live.
Okay. But by 100 years from now, I would imagine we will be part of the star family, and we'll be flying in space and have peace on Earth. Yeah, maybe, yeah?
Yes. But you must also, even when you start interacting with us, you must actually deal with your own stuff.
Absolutely. Would some of the technology that I assume will be transferred to us, or as you mentioned, was already given but repressed, would that technology be helpful for these changing times?
Eventually, most of that technology will be released to your people. For now, you are still in a state of repression where the idea of that technology is not necessarily appropriate for you to actually have right in your daily life. But think of it this way. 30 years ago on your planet, much of the technology that is very common now was all science fiction. It was all just the idea of an idea that someone would potentially have and create. Your technology has grown leaps and bounds over the last 100 years. And it's going to grow that much faster, that much sooner.
So you expect things to accelerate?
Yes. When you all stop fighting each other, fighting for the idea of resources and realize that there's enough for everyone to have, you will work together to create a civilization that will be spectacular.
Thank you. That's good. I mean, I imagine that for us to come to peace and to stop trying to annihilate the other person, we probably need some major, maybe a cataclysmic event of sort to ensure we all work together, no?
No, not this time. You have had stories on your planet of past civilizations that have been wiped off the face of your planet in a night.
Can you repeat that, please?
You have had the idea, like the story of Atlantis, where they were wiped off the face of your planet in a night.
When you say in a night, you mean overnight?
Yes.
So the meteorite hit and Atlantis was gone.
The body of the comet crashed into your North American ice sheet and melted much of the water that was there. And it filled the oceans that you have around your world.
Right. Where was Atlantis?
The main body of the final Atlantis was in the Bahamas.
Bahamas. Okay. Amanda is asking, how can we initiate that change towards working together? It feels governments are creating more division than unity?
It is the understanding you cannot change others. You cannot change their priorities. You can work individually to change your own frequency, work through your own issues.
Right.
You will shift to a version of Earth that reflects that particular understanding and that way of being that shows a world where it is in unity. For when you have warfare in your heart, your outward world will reflect those beliefs that you have bought into and chosen to propagate and be part of your reality.
Right. So, okay, thank you. So, we're flooded with messages of violence and us against them and them against us. If I reduce or remove my exposure to these messages and focus on messages of hope and unity and working together, can I expect my reality to change to that way?
Yes. The less you consume and the less you choose to vibrate with that particular frequency, you will have a more peaceful reality. Because all that is, reality, is neutral. It just reflects back to you what you believe, what you are, where you are frequency-wise.
Right. So on the same notion, regarding the human body, is it possible for me to shift to a reality that my health is perfect and just be there, just stay there?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's not necessarily its relevancy. If it's relevant for you to have that experience to shift to a reality where you have a perfect health, which by the way, you do have perfect health, you're just perfectly how you are at this time. Physically, you're a perfect representation of who you are energetically.
Okay, I see it. When we spoke last, and I recall you said it in another video, not with myself, that you do not have memory, you just access information as you need it, right?
Yes.
So I asked you, I believe the last time we spoke, to give me a scan and tell me if there's any health issues with me. And you did, and I would use the word recall, not remember, but recall. Maybe it's more appropriate. And if you recall, you said you asked me to have my kidneys checked.
Yes.
Now, I did ask someone, not a medical doctor, about the kidneys, and I got some answers. And I believe I've shifted myself to a reality where my kidney is fine.
Yes.
Could you tell me if this actually happened?
Many of you on this planet have the idea of large-scale toxins built up in your systems. You are constantly shifting between realities.
So any body ailment is a reflection of toxicity
and beliefs.
And beliefs. How may I reduce, eliminate, or clear toxicity out of my body, please?
The first thing you must do whenever you are dealing with health issues is approach the idea of a third detoxification of your liver and many other organs. Much of what you on your planet eat at this time has many heavy metals, has many ideas of toxic food and chemicals that add into your diet that profoundly affect your ability to function correctly and think.
Mm-hmm.
So we would start there.
Thank you. Could you point me to foodstuffs which are less toxic and or what I can take to remove toxicity out of my body?
There is a particular brand based out of California named American Botanical Pharmacy. They have different detoxes that you can do. but use your best judgment to find a particular service that helps you in that way, where they are able to eliminate the level of heavy metals in your system.
Thank you. If you were a human on planet Earth, like myself and Amanda, and Laura's not here at the moment, would you drink the tap water?
No.
Would you drink spring water in plastic bottles?
Not in plastic bottles.
In glass?
Yes. The idea that glass does not leach into your systems like metal or plastic does.
Would you say that switching to clean water from glass containers would result in a positive health change for anyone that does that?
Much of what you refer to as tap water on your planet, much of the way you look at things, understand that water itself has memory. So the memory of the emotions that is contained within the particular water, because the water systems in most cities is a closed system, and your emotion itself imprints on the water itself. You need to clean and purify the water to properly cleanse it, to make it suitable for properly drinking.
Thank you. That's very interesting. What about praying with the water, blessing the water?
Yes.
That's good. Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Emoto that was looking into water being blessed or being angered at and then taking microscopic pictures of the water?
Yes.
Do you agree with Dr. Emoto that water is blessed is probably healthier for you, and water which is absorbed anger emotions are not good for you?
Yes. What you as a being are is mostly water in nature. So you combine with the particular water that you absorb into your physical being.
Okay, I see. Ethium, we have a device called a water distiller. I believe it vaporizes the water and then recollects them. I imagine it'll be the pure H2O molecule. Is that good water? Is that worth using such a device?
You also, in a cheaper way, something that would be much more easy for more people to get, is to have the idea of double charcoal filtered water and the device that you spoke of. It's filtering out the different chemicals that have been leached into your water supply through the municipalities of different people on your planet that are not completely able to be filtered out through even their systems.
Thank you. When you say double charcoal, do you mean a two-stage? The water goes through the first filter and then through the second?
Yes.
I see. And would you filter the water prior to put them in the distiller, or distill them and then filter them?
We would distill them and then filter them.
Okay, very good. Then filter. Okay. Amanda is asking. Oh, I guess you just answered that. Do you know what filter is best then to clean the tap water? That was charcoal. And is there a favorable, Amanda is asking, is there a favorable way to absorb the emotional memory?
Blessing it. Allowing yourself to understand that what you are is energy. All that is actually in the water is just energy. Your water is a physicalized form, much as fire is also a physicalized form. Everything is energy. It's just a particular vibration that matches the frequency of who you are at any given moment.
Thank you. Could you explain to us a little bit about light? What is light and its use or part in creation?
Everything is light. Everything is frequency. Light is the thing that you cannot necessarily catch, is the non-physical aspect of everything. It is all energy of different frequencies. What you perceive to being dark and light are merely two aspects of the same energy.
Yeah, I heard somewhere something that I liked. The speaker said, darkness is not the absence of light, but it's light knowing not to go there.
In a way,
What would be a better way to say it?
you have a dark side, you have a light side. Much of your understanding, your reality, is that of a duality. Is that there is the light, there is the dark. In reality, both exist simultaneously. Both are on your world, much in the way in you have the positive aspects of yourself and the negative aspects of yourself.
Okay, that's very interesting. I guess humans, I find myself that my thinking is so linear, time-based, and polarized. How do the conversation with you is very helpful, but how do I move myself to the thinking, the idea, the living in such a way that I understand that it's all part of the whole, instead of seeing good and bad, light and dark, and so forth?
Allow yourself to live in that understanding. Allow yourself to be in that understanding.
Thank you. That's good.
It is your beliefs.
Right.
The belief that you can only live in a linear way is just a belief. If you don't see yourself as separate from the reality that you're in, understand that you are creating that reality.
Can you repeat that, please?
Understand that you are creating the reality that you live in, so you do not need to fight it. If you see the reality that you exist in as a reflection of who and what you are, your beliefs and your knowing.
Okay. Ethium, could you please suggest or offer methods for us to be more whole, if I can say it this way?
Have the knowing that you are whole. You are 100% energy. There's nothing left out.
Thank you. There's another question from Amanda here. You mentioned one of my themes is heal the planet and heal myself. Can you tell me more about what needs to be healed within myself? And are these two missions related?
It's all related. There's nothing outside of it. It is your purpose. It is the reason for being. It is part of your existence as a person. There's nothing separate from those separate statements. You are healing yourself. You are healing the world by healing yourself.
Thank you. I guess Amanda is looking for something more specific. Would you be able to offer anything like that?
Is there a belief in yourself that you have not quite dealt with? And what is it specifically?
I see. Thank you.
Look to those things, because those are usually the clues for most humans to be able to actually understand and be able to incorporate the aspects of themselves that they have not quite integrated. Usually when you hit the point when you have integrated different aspects of yourself, where you've fully healed the trauma and allowed yourself to be okay with those experiences, you will see a reflection in your reality of that particular understanding and that way of being.
And that could be true for also someone who experienced severe trauma, was in a war, got attacked, or anything like that.
Yes.
Ethan, what can we do to have a healthy, long life? Regarding, I mean, I don't know how much toxicity we can remove at this point by ourselves, but how can we navigate this toxic world?
You're doing it already. You do not necessarily require something outside of yourself. I am connecting to your higher mind as you speak to me and the people that are asking questions to be able to share with you what your higher mind wants to say to you, but you're not quite listening.
Fair enough. What is it that I'm missing the most here?
By thinking that you're missing something. There's nothing left out.
Thank you. That's a good one. With your permission, I want to ask you a little bit about your home planet and your civilization.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned to me there are 3 spheres which are supercomputers circulating your planet. Can you talk? And they had 3 names: Epiphany. I have it written down. Can you tell us about those, please?
Epsilon, Epiphany, and Eclipse. They act as a trinary moon for us. They act in such a way that they balance the environment prior to the planet itself being geoformed, terraformed. It was a rocky world with no water, nothing on it, no atmosphere. When the Greys came and created the world for us to be able to exist and thrive, they created our world by using the supercomputers that are massive. The energy of them is reflected to your world through your moon as well, and beaming through me to you and those that will watch this transmission.
Right. Can you give me an idea of the physical size of your planet and the physical size of these supercomputers?
My planet is roughly a little bit bigger than your planet with a little less gravity. The size of the moons that we have, the supercomputers, are roughly the size of your moon. Each one, but at an equilateral distance to keep the planet itself balanced. They are made of nano particles, nanomachines, but they are on a magnitude that you could not understand at this time. They are true artificial intelligence. They act as a balance point because we are the 3rd hybrid race. So they are there as the 3 reminders that we are spirit, we are physical, and we are all that is.
One for each, I see.
Yes.
And the Greys developed these computers?
Yes.
And how do these computers interact with the planet itself?
Their gravitational pull, as well as their ability to connect to every being on our world and keep our species connected no matter where we are in the universe. Because they are the balancing mechanism for our species that we carry with us, even if we are not on our homeworld.
So you are, let me say it a different way. All the SSANIs interact and interface with these 3 supercomputers at the same time?
As needed.
is needed.
Much in the same way we show up exactly when we need to. Everything works off of synchronicity.
That's very interesting. And forgive me for asking such trivial questions, but we're starting from scratch here. You mentioned the word synchronicity. I've noticed recently that when I look at my phone, that glass device, that glass communication device, I see repeating number patterns on it. I pick it up and you'll say 222 or 111 or 1111, and it's been happening nonstop for me for the last weeks or months. Does that mean anything, or just by chance?
It is a synchronistic reminder for you to know that you have raised your frequency. The more frequent those particular numbers show up, where you see a repeating 1111, 22, 22, 333, those sort of things, is a synchronistic reminder that you have been raising your frequency. And that is an outward, actual reminder to yourself that this has happened.
Thank you. What are good ways for us to raise our frequency?
By being yourself, by working through your negative beliefs, by be willing to go into the places that you're afraid to look and understand that it is like a carnival ride.
Change your perspective on what could seem scary or threatening. Take a different perspective on it.
Yes.
That's good. Amanda has another question here. What is it within myself that needs to be healed?
Ask it this way. What am I afraid to look at? What would I have to believe is true in order to think that I need to be healed? Make it so big that you cannot ignore it or run away from it. It's so big, but it's usually so obvious. It's simple. Usually, for most people, it is a sense or belief that you are not good enough, you are not worthy to exist, but the fact that you exist means you're worthy. You would not exist otherwise.
Thank you from both myself and Amanda here. Ethan, I think you hit the nail on the head here. I think the issue of worthiness is probably main anchor of a problem for most people, especially in this country, in the United States, on the North American continent. It seems that how we value ourselves is we attach material to it first and foremost, and quote unquote success, whether it's to have the right partner or money or car or whatever. How can we switch ourselves to inherent knowing of worthiness?
By dealing with the beliefs that you're not good enough. Go to the source that tells you you're not good enough.
I see.
You have to do the work yourself.
Yeah. That's true.
The channel in front of you had a 4-year-old running in his head for 40 years. He finally did the work to be able to let go and help that aspect of himself be integrated into who he is. Therefore, he no longer needed that 4-year-old.
Fair enough. Amanda typed another question. As a therapist, I do see that the I'm not good enough wound is incredibly common. Is that one of the major earth lessons, to find self-love or realize self-worth?
Yes.
Does that mean that part of the reason for us to incarnate on the earth at this time space is to heal that wound of self-worth?
Yes.
Does everyone needs healing?
Yes. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Have compassion for those around you that do not necessarily have that understanding, and be willing to hold space for the people that need it. Because many people are not aware of the idea that they're perfect the way they are.
Right.
Or they have been fed the idea of negativity that has fed the negative ego, that has caused them to move into the idea of I'm not good enough, so they need to set themselves apart from the world instead of realizing they are part of it, that they are worthy, they are worth being loved.
Yes, thank you. Wasn't that, I don't know if one or the main lesson that Yeshua came to give us about compassion?
The main lesson for the one you refer to as Yeshua was the idea of forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Being willing to forgive yourself and forgive the world. It is even said in the parables that, in the stories about him, that he could forgive all the time. He forgave the world that he saw because he realized the world he saw was a reflection of who he was internally.
Has that soul of Yeshua incarnated after he was Yeshua?
Understand this, the idea of past or future incarnation, the one you refer to as Yeshua, transitioned into the idea of the collective consciousness. He is the avatar of the idea of forgiveness.
Right. So he symbolizes forgiveness in a way.
Yes, unconditional love. That is why that particular understanding and that particular symbol is so prevalent in your society, because it's what you need to have in your understanding of your reality.
And I guess that's really the major lesson for us right here in this timeline, isn't it?
Yes.
Forgiveness. Yeah. I heard this saying somebody said, I liked it. It said, to love someone is to take them as yourself.
To see them as yourself.
To see them as yourself. Is that forgiveness or is that separate?
When you can see them as yourself, you cannot hate them. You treat people how you feel about yourself.
Okay, thank you. I've noticed, and this is me noticing, there's no stats here, but I've noticed, I believe there's an increase of, I don't like the word mental health issues, but people seem to be very stressed out to various degrees. Some are day to day, but some they resort to drugs, alcohol, substances, violence, living on the street. It seemed to me like there's more and more of this, isn't it?
No, it's just become more prevalent. In your society, in your history, there has always been these kind of ideas and these kind of experiences. But because you have your media today, you're able to see those things that were already existing. It's just more prevalent because you're able to actually observe them more openly than you were before.
Thank you. I understand. How can I help, if I do need to help, a homeless person, someone who lives in a tent in the park, down the street?
The understanding and come from a place. By no means are we saying allow yourself to be in a situation where you could be hurt, but come from a place of compassion and understanding that those people are also hurting and their world has been torn down. That is why they are in that place. But there are also beings that choose to live that way because they see themselves as more free and open to your society and to the world, because the world is their home, not just one little shack.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Thank you. Ethium, is there a specific message yourself or any other being would like to send us now, or to anyone that would be watching this video later?
Be willing to live from a state of compassion and forgiveness. Understand that the world you see is not necessarily terrible. It is a reflection. It is a willingness to actually grow beyond what you have. Remember that you chose to be here. As a being, you chose to be in this situation. You chose the different things. You knew that being here would be the most exciting thing you could do that would help you grow and expand as a soul at this time. That is why there's so many people on this planet. But also understand that the compassion is that everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. And many times people are operating from a place where they have been hurt and not necessarily healed the wounds.
So a person that is negative towards me, attacking me various ways, doesn't have to be physical. And I do see they're hurting, but they keep attacking me, or with all the forgiveness I have towards them and compassion, and they still keep attacking. What do I do?
Because they are still hurting.
Right.
Do not necessarily put yourself in a situation where it is relevant for you to keep experiencing that unless you want to. Realize that you have a choice to continually interact with the people that are hurting, but know that you don't necessarily need to continue hurting yourself.
Okay, that's good. Amanda has another question here, and I'll close it after. The new younger souls come into Earth that you said have less karma. Will they have the I'm not good enough wound as well? Or do those souls have a different lesson here on Earth?
They have a different lesson. Because they are coming into a different age. They do not continually have the idea of the same lesson that you, as souls that have been there for many, many lifetimes.
I understand.
They will not hold on to those ideas for as long because they do not buy into the idea that goes along with those particular beliefs.
They are essentially will create a whole other culture that we're not even aware of, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's good. Well, I hope my daughter is one of them.
She is.
I think so. Ethium, thank you very much. We are complete for today. I thank you very, very much.
Good day.
Good day.